Thank you, MacGroup, for having me out. Yeah, I was fortunate enough. I've done the Scott Kelby photo walks a couple years in a row. Usually went when Terry White was running them, and then one year he stopped. So I looked and seen who else was doing the Detroit area, and I seen Cheetah and went, great, let's do it. And haven't turned back. I missed last year, and that was the only one that I've missed it since. But yeah, we talked about a couple different ideas, things I could show you guys today. And I thought something that would be fairly interesting would be how to make an AdoramaPix photo book. I brought a bunch of my books in the back room that you can take a look at. Everything from my personal family photos to stuff that I use with my clients portfolio-wise. How many people have ever made a photo book online? Has anybody ever ordered them from AdoramaPix? Okay. I like AdoramaPix because they do lay flats. We'll go through their options real quick. They may cost a little more than, say, Shutterfly and some of the competition, but they do hardcover books. You can see in the promo here, they don't have the bubble. They lay flat, so if you're doing panorama images, they can go right across the seam. You don't see any real issues. They have a whole variety of photo papers now, glossy, luster, matte. They do leather covers with gold and silver embellishments, variety of sizes, square and portrait, landscape. So I've been using them since about 2009. I'm not going to say they're without fault, but every time I've had an issue with them, they've corrected it without any kind of real back and forth. They're very good customer service that I've found. Now, they offer a wide variety of templates. So if you don't feel that you're creative or you want something to go along with, say, a baby portrait, you can see here they offer quite a variety. I'm not going to go through all these. If you take a look at the ones I have in the back, I'd like to emphasize my photos themselves. I don't do a lot of little trinkets and scrapbooking type stuff. I want my pictures to speak for themselves, and in a lot of cases, for them to be as large as humanly possible. So with that, I'm going to log in. Now this will be one of the few times I'm going to try and hawk myself here. If you've never done an AdoramaPix account before and you sign up using my referral code, you can see there, after your first $15 order, we both get a print credit for the following order. So I'd appreciate it, and you get a little something for testing them out. I'll show you where that is in the account. So after you do sign up, you can go and solicit all your friends to sign up and become AdoramaPix users as well. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Nope. Nope, not that one. You don't get that one yet. Yes. I keep bugging them to make it easier where you can just send out a referral link, but they make you use the numbers for right now. All right. Go back. So I'm going to run real quickly through the different account options. Once you sign up, you can see here as it loads. Got my name, my email address. AdoramaPix has a photo uploader like most picture print companies. They also have an FTP option, which is nice. So if you want to do bulk uploads, and right below that, you can see my referral number again. You can connect all your social media profiles to the account. So once you create a book, you can share those books with your Facebook and Twitter family and friends. Just like anybody else, you can do your avatars and most of your contact information, which you can see I don't really fill out. You can have a vanity URL later on. So again, once your books are made and you want to share them with people, you can send them directly to AdoramaPix.com/Mark Hicks or your name, obviously. They offer gallery preferences. So if you know there's certain things you're going to use over and over again, you can set those as the default yourself. So like when I do prints, you can see I have it set for super glossy. I don't like borders. The back of my prints, I always like to have Mark Hicks photography. The default print sizes that I use the most often are there. And then the color correction on photo books and on the prints. Sometimes I turn it off, but for the most part, they give you a running list so you can see any kind of referrals that you do get from people using your referral code. So you can always keep track of how many you're billing and whatnot. So there's my address. Everybody can send me a letter. I'd appreciate it. You'll find I'm not as funny as I look, but so anyway, so let's get over here. So when you click photo books at the top, if you missed it, it brings you over here and it gives you the option to look at all the books you've already created. When you upload photos to their galleries, unless you tell them to store it, they have a 3-month time span. When you create a book and you complete the book, once you've actually ordered it, they hold it indefinitely. So even if you delete the files and the photos from the account, you can still reorder that photo book later. And it gives you the option, like all these different books are in the back of the room here. You can look at them at any time and see a interactive page-turning preview of the book. And this is something that you can send a link to people, share on your websites in addition. Or if you don't want to print the book and just want to have this digital version, it's available. When you upload your pictures to their site, they give you an option of they'll store the photos for 3 months before they automatically delete the gallery. You can ask them to hold the photos, but then they put a 3 gigabyte storage limit on it, unless you opt for the professional. I think it's $39 a year. Then they'll do indefinite, infinite file sizes. I actually don't use the Pro. I don't think they give you enough benefits for it. There's so many other places. If you want something just to store your photos online, this isn't the place, in my opinion. But like I said, what I found was nice is this picture, the Jack book. I ordered prints through AdoramaPix. I made the book. The parents weren't in a big hurry to order the book themselves, but all the pictures were deleted, but they're still in the book because they saved the book. So I can order that book a year from now and it'll print fine. It's not like I have to re-upload the photos at that time. As you can see on here, some of these have reorder, some say complete. And while it says complete, you can go back in and edit the book. You can make changes, and I'm going to walk through actually building a book from scratch. So like this Jack book, because it hasn't been physically ordered, I can still go back in and make changes to it and rearrange photos. These books that have the reorder link, they're locked in. I can't do anything to them other than order them unless I make a copy. Once I make a copy, then I can edit that copy. But the original book that was ordered can't be changed anymore. Let's go ahead and create a book. And it's going to ask me for a name, so I'll call it MacGroup. You get different options on your covers. Standard hardcover, custom hardcover is where you can actually put your photo, like what you can see in the back. They have the leather luxe and the genuine leather, and those you can have embossed, like just the custom hardcover. Pick your shapes: portrait, square, landscape, panoramic. I like going with square for this. Now, something I recommend, you can see the 4 sizes here, and I always say build the book in the largest size you can. They give you the option later on if you decide, you know what, I want to print this 12 by 12 as a 6 by 6, and everything will shrink down without any problem proportionately and reproduce. If you make a 6 by 6 and decide later on you want to print it as a 12 by 12, you'll probably get some flags that'll say the files that you uploaded aren't good enough. If you know all you're ever going to do is a 6 by 6, then fine, build it from that, you know, cell phone pictures and that. But if you can build it as the 12 by 12, you can reproduce and print it later. Luster is the standard finish. All the other finishes they offer here, there's a slight upcharge on. Again, in the back, you can see most of the ones I have are luster. I think I have one that's glossy. Again, I don't find that the change is that big of a difference, but it's personal preference. And you can see here it's been running the total the whole time. And if I change to say linen, you can see how much the price jumped. Switch it back. The base book starts off as a 10-page book, and you can see on here at the 12 by 12 size for each additional page, 2 pages, I'm sorry, is $5.76. Smaller books, the additional pages are less. So it starts off as a 10-page book, so it's 5 double-sided pages. For what I'm going to do today, I'm going to do a 20-page book, but I can add those after. Where did I? All right. Sorry, step 5 on prepare your layout. This is where you can pick if you want to use a template. Like I said, they have quite a wide variety of stuff that you can pick from. Once you start building the book, if you want to change the template mid-design, you can, but it will change the layout of your files, obviously. For what we're going to do, I'm going to do build blank build your own. The other option is upload a ready PDF. So if you have the skills and know how to build the book in Illustrator, InDesign, and you want to lay the whole thing out complete with your drop shadows and text and all the fonts you want to do, they do have an option that works pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and start the blank book. And they have templates on their site that you can download that'll give you the actual resolution and sizes that you need. Yep, I'll give you all the specs for it. And multiples of 2, always 2. If you look in the back, it's not a traditional, what's the term for the binding? Yeah, it's not saddle stitched, it's actually glued at the edges. So you can do 2 pages at a time without any trouble. Oh, the pages are awesome. They're not thin whatsoever. It's not a flimsy newspaper type stock or a magazine type. It's basically 2 photos that they glue together, front and back, so you get a nice thick page. Well, it would be, what do you call it, the thermal dye sublimation, like a traditional dye sublimation, yeah, like a traditional printing. Yeah. All right, so I started the book. The first thing it's going to ask me to do is find the pictures. In this case, I've already uploaded the pictures I'm going to use, but you can upload from your computer. If you want to connect to your different social media, Flickr, Google+, Facebook, SmugMug, Instagram, you can, and it'll pull from there. I generally don't, since the files that I'm putting in those different social media settings aren't as high resolution, but the option's there. In this case, I've already, like I said, grabbed it, and I can go in and drag individual files. Say I just uploaded a bunch of Christmas photos, I'm not sure what I wanted yet, and once I get them, I can drag them over. Until they're in that right side in the project photos area, they're not going to be available. I can do add all real quick. Wonderful, moving along. Okay, if you look on the left here, you can see all the photos that I imported in, and along the bottom you can see the different pages. And like I said, it starts off as a basic 10-page book. The first is the cover. Right in the middle there's a little bit of a double line. That's going to be my spine. And since I want to do a 20-page book, over here on the right, you can see where I can add the pages, and it'll tell me already how much it's going to add to the price of my book. So to add 10 pages to this 12 by 12 is going to add $28.80. Again, this is if I reproduce it at 12 by 12. I may only want to print a 6 by 6 book later, and that price will be considerably less. And once you click it, you can see it'll add it at the bottom here, off there. So now I got 13, 14, all the way up. Now I can go back through at any time and remove pages again. Say I find out I really didn't need them. So it's easier to, again, add more pages, find out you don't need them at the end, and just delete them. Just make sure wherever you want to add pages from, if I had started laying out the book and I wanted to add a page after page 2, I'd want to select the 1-2 page at the bottom. See how it's highlighted in black there now? And that'll add the pages after that. Because I hadn't started anything yet, it really was a moot point, but just something to keep in mind. If you want to add a page between a certain spot, you have to select the page before it. All right, going down this right here, so I've got photos, 36, that's just the straight photos I'm going to use for making this book. Now you don't have to upload only JPEG files. If you want to make something with a transparency like a logo, cut out somebody's head for an example, they give you this option, stickers. You normally don't see it, it's underneath the folders. You have to shrink the menu, make stickers, and this is where any ping files, anything with a transparency that you would upload to. And again, but you have to keep in mind the resolution difference between a ping versus, say, a JPEG. You can save a 300 dpi JPEG. Your ping file is going to need to be significantly larger because it'll probably save at 72 dpi. They are nice about when you try to use a photo that's too large for the way it's going to be printed, it'll give you a warning. You can override it, but it'll at least tell you. So, and I'll show that later. The next tab on the left here, we've got backdrops. And this is something I do in the beginning because I generally have a book in mind on how I'm going to lay it out from the start. So for most of my portfolio books, like I'm going to build today, I like to use a solid black. But they have different gradients and patterns that you can select from. And if you ever have an idea in mind, they have this nice little search feature. So I could type in Christmas, and it'll give me all the Christmas options that they have available. Just click the X, and it'll default back to the standard. So once you decide on the color that you like, you've got the color picker. You can do the web hexadecimal color picking. Click, drag it over to where you want it. Now I'm going to want black as the background for every page, and rather than sit here and keep dragging and dragging and dragging, if you click on the background, you'll see up here in the toolbox it says the word background. So it always tells me what I've selected. And then this little pop-up came out. I can do copy to all, and now it's going to apply my black background to every single page that I wanted to use. And then over here at the bottom here, it has backdrops in use. It always gives you which ones are actually being used. So if I decided to change and I wanted the purple, you'll see it added it to the backdrops in use. Yes, sir. The back of page 1 now is just a black background. Well, the back of page 1 would be page 2. So, okay, right now I'm showing the cover.
Is there like a title page?
Oh, okay. You have an option. You can either have page 1 be the inside of the front cover, or you can later on add a blank page to be the inside front cover. And it actually will be the inside will be a first blank spread. That'll get added on later on. You can do it at first, but I find it usually it's a moot point because they would put 1 as the front of the back cover, so when you add that blank, it's a blank spread always. So page 1 is always going to be on the left hand when you open it up and look at the finished book. Is that you're talking about like a table of contents? Well, yeah, you could put that on any page if you wanted, essentially. That's up to you how you want to lay it out. But it'll always be on the left side, unfortunately. When you open the book, Yes. So this would be page 1. So when I open the book, if that's the one option, I generally go for a 2-page blank. But I can't put anything on either one of these. No. So what would happen is if you wanted to do a table of contents, or you would have to put it here, unfortunately. You can't. That would be true too. You could not put this 2-page blank, leave this blank and start, but this would be essentially page 2 according to the design layout. If you don't choose it to be blank, it would essentially be this, but you'd be starting here. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, in this case, page 1 is always on the left. So if you wanted to put a title page, you would have to put it on page 2. Yes. And you can see in some of the books in the back there, they didn't always allow you to have that first blank spread when you opened it up, the inside front cover being blank and the opposite. So some of my books actually have pictures printed on the inside back cover for page 1, the way they lay it out, and it looked horrendous because you've seen the seams where the cover was rolled over, so they added that option. Now, if I had left it blank, then maybe it wouldn't have been as bothersome to me, but yeah, page 1 is always going to be on the left-hand side in this case. It's just a matter if you add blank pages.
What would prevent you side black page backing? Have a title.
On here,
Yeah, or on the one that.
or here.
Yes. Do something, bold script with a.
Well, you could do it by yourself once you
Yeah.
get it at home. That's not going to prevent anything. But the way they set it up is either this is page 1, page 2, or you can make this blank and have page 1, page 2 after. All right. Yeah. Yeah, and I know it's not true to normal publishing, just the way they numbered it, but does that make sense now a little bit? So far I've gone through, made my black background for everything, just going down some of the options again. They have different frames if you don't want to do a traditional square. Let's go back real quick, sorry. Let me put the picture that I want for the front cover. You just drag and drop the photos. You can see it's there. If you grab the corners, it'll always scale proportionately. You don't have to hold shift or any kind of shortcuts. If you decide you want to change the proportions, and you grab left or right, it'll scale the file to a degree, but as you can see, it started to crop off his head. They have options to change the zoom and the pan on there. So if I click pan, I can drag him down or up according to how I'd like him. For my front cover, I'm going to use what they call up here, they have fit fill. Normal tools, undo, history, cut, copy. You can add shadows, opacity, borders. But for my front cover, I'm just going to fit it to the page, and it'll put it back proportionally to be all the way from the top and bottom. The lines here are the bleed marks, so whenever possible, try to stay within those lines. This grayish area is what's actually wrapped around the cover that you won't see anyway because it's hidden from by other photos or by the blank pages. You can physically scale it past there, but again, anything beyond that's not going to be shown. Now, if I would have said on accident, say, fill the spread, see that big warning sign? That's telling me that my file is not large enough to print 24 inches wide by whatever the height would be proportional. I can override that and take it all the way to order like that, but it'll keep telling me, hey, warning, 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 so that when I get the crappy reproduction later, that they're like, we warned you. Well, I'm printing a 12 by 12 photo book, or designing the 12 by 12 inch. I've gotten away with as low as 100 DPI on the file at actual size. So if it was 12 inches wide at 100 DPI and had it reproduce fairly well, you know, ideally would be 200 or higher, but I have stretched it as much. I'm going to go back to hit the page. All right, and since I have that picture here, something else, I go up to the tools, and there's the, where's that, properties under view, sorry. If you want to get specific with dimension, excuse me, with dimensions and whatnot, you can physically type in. So later on when I'm overlapping files and I want to reproduce a picture the exact same size, I can physically sit here and go, I want that to be 2,000 wide by 1,500 high, and it'll resize my box, and then I have to sit and zoom and adjust a proportionately. All right, go through some more of these options. Like I said, the cutouts here, so if I decided I wanted to go with a triangle, you just click and drag and drop it right on there, and it gives you the file size or the shape, and you can sit and change it. If you decide you don't like it, you can click and drag another one. If you want to return it back to a square or rectangle shape, you just have to click delete frame here in the toolbar, and it resets it, gets rid of that. Put it back to the page. And just like their other stuff, they have a search feature. So if I know I want a circle, I can type circle, and it'll give me frames and cutouts that are going to be circle shaped as soon as it loads. Now, if you haven't noticed, I blacked out my laptop because I'm not on a Mac. I am the enemy today. So just go ahead and blame any glitches. Yep, there it goes. Fortunately, we haven't gotten that far. Yes, yeah, in this sense, like I said, if you wanted to build it in a program and save the PDF, you can, or even I'll show you on some of the pages, I couldn't lay out the way I wanted to, so I created the spread in Photoshop and saved the file that way. Now, Wise Man would have saved as we were going. I did not, and they do have the option to save up at the top here. I haven't done a PSD. I know they'll accept JPEG, TIFF, and PNG files. So yeah, I lost pretty much everything. So just to recap, the black background, and actually I'll show you guys real quick. Copy to all, like I was saying earlier. So I'm on the cover right now. All my pages just went to black. I want to add new pages after page 4. I make sure I click to select page 3, 4, go in and just add 2 pages. You can see they don't have the background applied because they're new pages, but that's where it'll be. Now at the same time, if I go back and I say take away 2 pages, it takes away the pages that I have highlighted. So just keep that in mind that you don't accidentally remove pages that you wanted. I'm going to go back and add my 10. Oh, the plugin crashed. Yes, sir. Yes, yeah, I'll show you that. 'Cause this is the actual book we're gonna make, so I didn't want you guys to get a sneak peek too much. Not until it's done. Yes. 2 pages. Just 2. Yep. All right. There we go. All right, back to the cover. Drag my picture. Page. Like it. I'm going to save it just because now I'm paranoid. I'm going to go back real quick down the options. Like I was showing you, different cutouts, shapes that you can have your pictures in. They've got different frames if you want to make it look like a Polaroid. Doesn't work too good when it's actually there, but you can see the white border now. Like I said, a lot of variety, a lot of stuff that I've actually never used because I didn't see it was really there. You can do text. They have QR code options, stickers. Again, I mean, everything and anything you could possibly think you might need for clip art. Page layouts is nice because even if you do the blank book like I'm showing you here, you can go through and pick different things based on your pictures. So I'm going to go with the first spread, and I knew that I wanted to use these photos of the doctors on white, and I'm just going to keep dropping them on the page, not really worried where they're at now. They're on white. I know my black background's not going to work, so I'm going to go through and actually just drop a white background on these 2 pages again so they hide pretty well. I would assume so, just to be safe. That would be something I'd have to check their facts section of their website to be 100% sure, but just to be safe, I would assume yes. It might be. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure, and I'd rather not give you the wrong information. As you can see, I'm just sizing all these up to be as tall as the page, shrinking, cropping off the edges, because I wanted to see if I could get all of these to lay out next to each other, and there's no way it's going to work. They do not allow you can have opacity in this, so I can collect these gentlemen, select opacity, and I can drop it down and make them ghosted, but I can't do Photoshop, layer, burn, and dodge, and lighten and darken, and all that fun stuff. So for what I wanted to do in this case, it's not going to work. I'll delete these. And this is where, like I said, I went in and pre-laid it all out in Photoshop so that I could sit there and crop out and make sure that everybody overlaid with the space that I need. Exported this, or saved this as a high-res JPEG at the 12-inch by 24-inch proportions. This was based off of their template that I downloaded for a page spread. So they recommend right off the get-go 24 by 12 for a 12 by 12 book at 300 DPI. And then I just made my layout with the pictures I wanted, resaved it to the name that I wanted, and then saved it as a JPEG so that I could import it in. On here, do and yes, yeah. So their guidelines match what's in the book. So my guidelines there, they created for me in the template that I downloaded. So it matches the exact ones here on the book. So now I've brought my spread in, and since I know it's built to the size of the page, I can just go build the spread, and it fits perfectly. Now you'll see in this book and in some of the other ones, like I said, what I like about AdoramaPix is because they do the lay flat, and the seam's not completely invisible, but it's far less intrusive than I've seen a lot of the competition. It's not without its problems, and I'll go over some of those when I show you the actual books. Yes, sir. Yes. Well, that's what I was just saying. I wouldn't put anything important there, like an eyeball, but to have it go through his clothes a little bit, you'll see a real faint line, and to me, it's not that big of a deal. On something like this, it's more obvious, the light colored. On some of the books I've got back there, I did like a dark bridge shot that went across the spread, and it's not as visible. So it's, you know, if you can keep any important subject off, I would. But if it hits it, I don't think it's a deal breaker because it makes that big of an impact being that larger size, in my opinion. You know, these pictures, if I would have shrunk these to still fit two on one side, then these guys would have only been, say, that tall. And it wouldn't have the same impact, in my opinion. So, you know, I mean, that little bit of a seam that might be over his shoulder, to me, is not a deal breaker. And it's really not that noticeable unless you're right on top of it. Oh, let me double check here real quick. Yeah, because it's not 2 pages when they do it this way. It's not 2 sheets. It's one big sheet that has a crease. All right. So moving on. Now, like I said, I pretty much pre-planned this. Obviously, I've already printed one. And that's something I do from the get-go anyway. I know what kind of pictures I'm going to use, where I kind of want them, especially when it's client work. When I do my personal books for my family, you'll see back there, they're laid out by events, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter. And even that, I plan, you know, oh, it's going to be a 2-page spread. It's going to be a 4-page spread. So it kind of helps. Do a fit to page. And because it's horizontal, it fitted to that middle seam there. I want to do fill the page, and then I'm going to drag it out a little bit to give me some extra room there because I don't need to see everything past the girl on the left. But I did know I wanted 2 pictures here. Now you can see they can overlap without too much trouble, and you can change who's on top by clicking send to back, bring to forward. And there's no limit to how much you want to stack. What you want to be careful on is, see, as I dragged a new picture and the previous photo is highlighted in blue, how the blue glow shows up. If I let go, it's going to replace the photo in that box. So you want to make sure that if you're adding pictures, you put it in a new spot so that it doesn't replace one that's already there. You do have undos. Their shortcuts are different than Mac and PC. Their undo is Shift-Z, for example. They use Shift instead of Command or Control, depending on which computer you're on. I know on a PC they will accept Control-Z, so I'm going to assume on a Mac they'll accept Command-Z, but if they don't, it is because they have their own shortcuts, unfortunately. Probably their way of being impartial. I'm going to fill the page here, but I know I didn't want them overlapped like that since I'm cutting off the one girl. I'm going to grab it from the corner so I can shrink it proportionally. They have alignment options. Now, they don't give you an alignment option in relation to another file or another picture. So I can't collect both of these pictures and say I want them centered based on each other. What they do allow you with this alignment is it's per the page. So I'll click Align Middle Center, and it's going to move it to the middle of this page itself. Now if I drag it because I want it a little bigger, I can go back and it'll center it again. Like I said, if I grab both of these and do that, it's going to put them both centered on their own individual page, which moved the photo on the left more than I wanted it to. So I'll just Shift-Z and undo it. Now, with this, like I said, you can either double click to get right to the pan option, or you can click it at when the toolbar shows up. I'm going to adjust my picture to where I want it. You can zoom in a little bit more if you have the resolution. If you hit something where it's too much, it'll give you that warning again. That particular file, there doesn't seem to be an issue, so, but that's way bigger and closer than I want it to be. But I still don't like the connection there, so I'm going to go in, I'm going to add a border. As you can see, their numbers are a little wonky. It's not in full pixels or line width. They give you their own numbers, so it's kind of a guesstimate. If you like what it looks like visually, you can change the color. I'm going to go with black, so I get a nice black border for separation. Like do a full clipping path to mask it, I would have to do that in Photoshop and bring it in with the transparency if I wanted to cut around the physical people and get rid of their background. You can't do that in this program. Now, something to keep an eye on is when you do decide to add a border, a drop shadow to a particular photo, the program saves that, so the next time you bring in a picture, it already has it on it. So if you decide you don't want to use it in every photo after, you have to make sure you go down, they've got clear the style, it'll get rid of it. And from every picture thereon, it won't be applied until you add that border again. So basically, whatever the last customization you do, they try to apply it to every photo after. So just keep that in mind. I keep moving. Yeah, no, exactly. No, you'd only be clearing that one particular file. And actually, over here on the left, if you go all the way down to the settings option, this is where you can add the end pages to have the double blank on side cover, and technically first page would be blank. You can add the AdoramaPix logo if you want to save $1 or $2. You can choose what your default font is going to be if you're going to put your text in the program itself. And you can predefine your shadow and border, sticker colors and backdrops here as well. And if I add a photo, and like I was saying, if I add a border to it, I'll make it some obnoxious blue, and I come back here. It doesn't change it here, but the next time I drag a new folder or a new picture, it is going to keep applying it. So, but yeah, you could sit there and keep it applied, do all the photos, and go back and just clear it on the ones you didn't want. The other option is, because I added, say I'll add a shadow, and I'll add a border. I'll change my backdrop to something so we can actually see all that on there. You know, some of the adjustments are pretty basic. You don't get a lot of choice in, you know, spread and blur and the opacity of the drop shadows. It's very, you know, here's what it's going to be. You can make it distance farther or closer to the file and change the color. You know, so if I was doing something on white, a white background, because that's actually going to print black. So if I wanted to do a white background, I thought that shadow was too thick, I would go into the shadow and I would probably pick a gray color to make the shadow, so it doesn't seem to be as harsh. The only downside of that is if I drag a picture and I want to stick this picture on top of the other one, it is physically printing gray. It's not a true drop shadow like in Photoshop where it would be at a 75% opacity or 50% opacity. So that's not going to look very good, this weird gray shadow. Whereas the, you know, maybe in black it looks a little better. but still it's going to print pure black right over top of whatever's there. Style. Now, say you've done a couple different styles, and I really like this crazy orangish beige with the gray shadow. You can copy just the style in the toolbar here so that you can apply that to a later image. In case this isn't the last one that you did where it already applied it over and over again. Say I put a different image down and I changed the thickness and the color. And I keep changing and I keep doing a multitude of colors. I can go back through and actually select and just copy the style if I want later on. And paste that onto a different photo later. Throughout. But like she was asking if I wanted it on 2 files but not the third, you could clear it, or if you decided you wanted it again and you haven't used it, you could go back and copy. Maybe it was something unique to a certain image. Go back here. So again, like I did with the doctors, I wanted to do a 2-page spread with nice big, so I created this one in Photoshop as well, since I knew I couldn't get the overlapping as close as I wanted without cutting the gentleman out. Moving on. That picture. Now, some of the stuff, go through here and I can lay out, and I'm going to show you the different layout options. So when I come over to layouts, they have spread layouts, which will apply to both pages in the spread. So in this case, it would be page 7 and page 8. And I can narrow it down by, I have 3 photos. So for 3 photos in the spread, here are kind of the defaults they have. And I can just drag and drop and, well, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Oh, that's not too bad. Or I could go to individual page layouts and do the same thing and decide, maybe I want all 3 of these gentlemen photos on the same page. Bring it over, because if I leave this photo on the right side of the spread and I drop the page template, it won't grab it. So if I slide it over, then I can use that to make the page spread that way. Go back to spread layouts. I'm going to use that one to start. Now, nothing says it's set in stone. As usual, once I grab it, I can drag it. It will snap to the edges of the page. Full height. And as you can see up in the toolbox here, you can see it says I'm selected to a folder, a photo. I've selected the project. If I'm selected just to the background, a little bit. Don't need elbow in the photo. Yep, but it's really slow. That's where I was using, if I knew specifics, you can use the property tab, but it will snap, like I can just drag and it'll snap to that edge for me. It'll also snap to halfway points. So like I knew of these 2 pictures, I want to fill the height halfway. Yes. So if I go back here to text, you've got the text tool. I can just drag it over. Once it's there, double click it, and all the planning. Say that again? You can change the opacity on the text if you wanted to watermark over top of your picture, but I mean, it's your photo book. I don't really see a purpose in watermarking each individual photo.
Doing this.
Yes, the preview that I was showing you earlier where they had the page by page, and actually, let me say this again real quick. When you click preview to see how your book's going to lay out, this spread that's showing here is essentially what you can send a link to people, whether it's a client, family members, and this is always available even after you've ordered the book. You can go back and see this. They also have an option to embed this in your own website if you want, or share it on social media. So this is always something that's good to look at to see if it's actually laying out the way you wanted it. The warnings that I got rid of on the side here, you can see it says pages cover 3, 4, 7, 8. Those are telling me that my photo technically goes all the way to the trim or past it, and just keep a watch out that nothing important got cut off. And then obviously that there's blank pages, and did I really mean to do that? I'll go back. You can see here it's got the share option already. I gotta turn that on later, but I'll return to editing. Oops, clicked it twice, sorry. Where am I? Yeah, so once you have the text typed out, you have your variety of different fonts you can pick from. You can't import fonts into their program. You're stuck with what they supply unless, again, you build it in Photoshop ahead of time and bring it in as a final piece. But it has all the same color options, font size options. The alignment options are just to within inside the text box here. So if you decide you want to center it, and that blue's really hard to see. A little less, I know. And you can change the letter spread. So if you wanted, this isn't the right font to showcase that on, but there you go. And your line height. So they do give you a little extra control over. Yeah, they call it the letter spacing. Again, they're basic controls. If you want to do something specific or fancy, you can add a shadow to the text, just like the photos, which is nice. The border does the actual box, though. It doesn't add a stroke to the words. And did you just see what happened there? This is on the text only. So if it's a positive number, it goes inside the box. If it's a negative, it goes on the outside of the box. Away. Yeah, they have a variety of stickers and clip art in that sense. Like I said, it's easier to just type in what you're looking for to see what kind of options they give you. Or you could create it in Photoshop as a ping file and bring in your own custom one. I haven't tried too much of using like Wingdings or any kind of specialty fonts. Now, I like this page spread, and I know that I want to reproduce this kind of layout again. So I can come up to Edit, copy the spread. So when I go to my next page, I can just do Edit, paste the spread. It'll show the exact same photos, but then I can just drag new pictures right over top of it. Oops. And because I had them all selected, it just replaced all of them. You unselect there, bring those in. So, and there's my 3 pictures for there. I'm gonna move.
You then do a reverse. Have this.
Yep, I can. Select the pictures. I can mirror it, but it's going to flip the picture as well. If I wanted to move the spread, unfortunately, I would have to physically drag the pictures over. Now with some of their, and it's having a trouble snapping, and that's because I've got more than one picture selected. If I just do one picture again, it'll snap for me. Get out of the way. Their little toolbox is kind of annoying sometimes because it always pops up in the least convenient place. You cannot save a page layout for use like in a later book. The best you can do is in the book you're in is to copy a page that you already laid out and apply it to a later page. I'm gonna again start with paste the spread, but I know I want to add extra pictures this time, so I'm gonna just give me that. Yeah, right here. No. Those are just their pre-designed templates. It doesn't have any basis on the layout of the, yeah. The bottom here is where I could jump back and forth from page to page instead of going slowly one by one. Yes. The picture here, if I added the border, it's not going to work because it's filling the page. So it has to be on something that's not all the way to the edges of a page, unfortunately. Their program's got a lot of little limitations that seem to be a nuisance when you're first getting used to it because we're so accustomed to Photoshop doing everything and anything we possibly want it to do. There's my stroke. All right. But you can see, as soon as I snapped it to an edge, my stroke disappeared. So there's options. And I understand why they do that, because if you make a stroke right on the edge of that bleed and trim, there's a chance that your stroke's not going to be as thick on one book versus another, or so that's kind of their precaution to make sure you don't have something that looks slightly skewed. So what I do, say I wanted that a break between the pictures, I didn't want them to actually touch. Let me go back to that one. Say I wanted a physical line there. What I would do is I go down to stickers, and I'm going to do rectangle. Let's see, where's the standard? Solid rectangle. Drag it over. Now I have just a plain old rectangle square that I can manipulate. Drag it to the full height. Shrink it down to the width. It'll snap to the edge of a picture. If I want to nudge it over, I can, just to make sure that it's over that seam. And now I've got a black line that, created separation that I can go in and by using the properties, I can make it even thinner, probably easier than if I sit there and try to drag it. You can zoom in. The zoom in feature's over here on the bottom right. You can see a little arrow that'll snap to the default zoom. I click it, or I can zoom in physically and drag over if I need to be a little closer in. And then if I click this triangle, it zooms me back out to where I was before. But the nice thing of doing the sticker, then I can go back and I can change that fill color to whatever color I want. And you can also change the opacity to it if you want as well. Say if something I'll do later, I can give me a crazy blue color that, you know, it's going to print 75% over top of the picture. And I'll use that if I want to, when I put my logo on the front cover, jump there first. Images, like I said, since my logo was uploaded as a PNG file because I wanted the transparency, it's in the stickers section underneath images. I've got my thing. But I can tell already that the K in Hicks isn't going to show up too well because the gentleman's got a white shirt. So I'll use the sticker, like I was saying, drag that over, drag it across, down, change my opacity. Come on. And I'm going to send that backwards so it's behind my logo but above the photo. And now I've got a nice semi-transparent rectangle to create a break and, you know, make sure that you can actually read my logo now on top of his white shirt. So it's a nice, easy way to create boxes for things of that nature. And I can change that opacity again, like I said, if I want to make it darker or make it just pure black. And it can have its own border and shadows and things of that nature if you'd like as well. I'm on the cover here. So I'm going to want the name on the spine. Now, the text showed up in this weird color and everything because that's the last thing that I had it. I'm going to clear the style. I want to change the color to white so I can actually read it. Double click it. Typed out commercial portfolio. I'm going to want this on the spine. You can see the little arrow that's rotating. That's the rotate. Now, holding shift doesn't do you any good. It doesn't snap. So it's easier to use the properties tab again and actually type in the rotation for 90. Make sure that it's a true 90. I'm going to drag it over here. It'll snap on the center of the spline. You see how it centered the word in the spine there, so I know it's going to actually be centered. Drag that to be the full width. I want that to be aligned. And now that should print nice and centered on the spine of the book. Now if I change the pages, I'm going to go to an area where I haven't done anything yet. Save it again because starting over from scratch sucks. And I decided I wanted to add a crazy 56 pages to the end of my book here. And it'll take a minute to do it. It'll change the thickness of the spine, which means I'll probably have to, in this case I didn't have to readjust because it moved proportionately from the center. But if you were to start off larger, and I wanted my font to be way too big. Oh, it's not centered, so I got to center it. Now later on, if I go back and I said, you know what, I really didn't want all those extra pages. I added too many at once. 10 pages total. Finally back down to 20 pages. Jump back over to the spine. Now you can see my word's going to exceed the spine and I have to adjust accordingly again. So it's just something to keep in mind that if you change the amount of pages, the spine's going to change. You might have to switch that around. That's the The cell phone code you can customize so people can scan with their cell phone to take them directly to whatever link that you'd want. So if I put my website address in here, yeah. So then once it's printed with that, if you have the app on your phone to scan that, it'll take your phone to my website now, or whatever website that I put there. Unlike some of them that you can get online, you can customize some QR codes pretty in-depthly nowadays with your contact information and phone numbers and virtual business cards. This is limited only to web addresses and one per code, but it's still a nice little something that if you're into, you can add the QR code. Yeah. Now, when you go back to my photos, because I was getting ready to add some more pictures, you can see they put a little check mark next to the pictures that are being used, so you know if you used it already. And if you used it more than once, it'll actually tell you how many times in the upper corner of the photo. So I know some of these have 2, and that's because I copied the spread and haven't switched over yet. But it's a nice little extra to make sure that you keep track of what you're doing. And yes. They do. I know they've printed nudes. I haven't personally. You know, I would say if it's deemed illegal, I wouldn't even try to have them printed. If it's artful, you may get a contact from them saying, can you prove that you have permission to print these or to reproduce them, just to kind of cover their bases? Because like I was showing you, you can share these electronically on a web page, so and it'll always come back to them. So just to cover their own, I would assume that, you know, they might question you on it. But I know I have seen nudes printed by them, so I know that they will. I just don't know if they'll require some kind of an extra disclaimer. A lot of these, like I said, since I knew I was gonna, I knew the layouts, I like the same spread just for consistency. And just do a quick copy paste the whole spread, drag my new photos in, make sure they're not all selected when I do it. Actually, I'm going to even jump a couple pages ahead because I know I've produced. Go back here, grab this one, edit that spread, back to here, paste the spread, photo thing every time, over. Has anybody actually fallen completely asleep yet? No? Oh, I was going to give a free coupon code to whoever fell asleep first, but all right, nothing for any of you yet. Yes. Yeah. Over. So you can see just how quickly I was able to throw those extra pages in because I kind of had it envisioned in my head ahead of time. You know, a lot of times I will do something as simple as just, again, throw a bunch of pictures up on that I know that I want on the spread because all these are going to tie together.
But once you've worked with it for a while, how long does
It depends on what I'm doing. When I do my family books, because it's kind of haphazard, I'm more going based on, I don't want to spend more than a certain price per photo book because I'll order, there's pictures of my daughter and my niece books that I do every year, and I order 4 books of each kid. So I'm ordering 8 books. I'm spending a nice little chunk of change with them. So I'm thinking more budget-wise. I need to stay within these many pages, and I'll start off in my head, oh, it's going to be this, each spread is going to be one holiday, and then it might get moved because you can copy a spread and paste it in case I want to move a whole section over. I've been doing this since 2009, so I can get a full book done in a couple hours from start to end. You know, this, I've already laid it out. I've rehearsed it a couple of times so I can throw it together a little quicker to try and keep you guys awake. You know, first time, it's the little nuances. Like I said, how many times did I sit there and go, why can't I make this shadow overlap nicely? Or why can't I cut this a little differently? And it's just getting accustomed to the software to where I've even now just made a point to build it in Photoshop and upload the spreads or upload the full PDF because I have complete control. But I'll show clients how to do this with photos that I'll do on a shoot just so that, you know, hey, it's not entirely difficult that one of the books back there, or a couple of them, it's literally either a full 2-page spread or 1 picture a page. So there's nothing to it. It's literally just drop, tell the program, size it to the page and be done and keep moving on. Because again, it's preparation. Their turnaround times once the books are actually ordered is pretty nice too. You know, like I said, and I've started, like I said, quite often I'll just use their templates as a base because I'm not sure how the pages are going to lay out. Like I knew these I'm going to want on the other side. Didn't grab them all, but you know, but it pre-sized them for me and got me, you know, 60% of the way to begin with. Page, drag them over. I know I want these. And this is where, I'm sorry? That's up to you. You can do as small as 10 and what was the option when I clicked it? 76 pages total is the option here. You may be able to go beyond that. The most I've ever done, I think some of the smaller 6x6s are 50 pages. I like even numbers and nice packages. Now, as I'm seeing this, I want 4, stop panning. I wanted to fit 4 pages or 4 pictures in a row here. They're not going to fit the way I want them. So what I'll do is I'll look at the properties on a full page one, which is 36. So half of that is what, 18? And half of 18 is 9. So I'll just go in and type in that I want it to be 900 tall. So, and I can go in and change the 4 that I want to be 900 tall. Oh, is that the man with the cane that kicked me out? Oh. Like I said, since they snap nicely, I don't have to worry about nudging. I know they'll snap right to each other. And again, half the page. Oops. Snapping to the other photo instead of the center page where I want it. Snap. Get over. You know, like I said, my style, I don't do a lot of the embellishments, especially in a client book, because I'm trying to show as much of the photos as possible. You know, nothing screams at a client like a 12 by 12 photo reproduced. So I've gone through, I've got the full page laid out the way I think I like it. I'm going to save it again. It does save periodically on its own. Don't rely on that. That's just a fool's errand. I'm going to hit preview again. Because almost every page has a photo touching the edge, you can see my warnings here are, you know, quite carried away. The only ones that aren't listed are the 2-page full spread, because it knows enough that that's the way it's supposed to be, but I know that it's going to be okay. I'm going to keep going. Now, as soon as I hit order now, it's going to take me to the order page. And at any time, I can still go back and edit this book until I fully check out of the, and give them my credit card and everything else. So you can see the size. I can change the paper still at this point if I want. I can add boutique boxes if I want to make it beautiful because I'm sending to somebody. This is where I add the end pages because I like having the blanks at the beginning and at the end. So you can select it. You can pick which color you want it to be. They do add $2 to add those. You'll see in some of my books, the personal ones, I have no problem throwing the AdoramaPix logo on there, and then that'll knock that $2 back off. If it's something I'm showing the clients, you know, I'll pay the $2. And then as you look down here, you can see also available 10 by 10, 8 by 8, 6 by 6, and it gives me the prices so I can add those instead. I can go back now to my photo books instead of checking out. Yeah, but that was, I had selected linen, the Pebble linen stock, so it jumped the price up quite a bit too. You can do leather covers. You can't do a soft cover. So you'll see it's listed here now as complete the book. That MacGroup one on the top here is the one that screwed up that I didn't save. I'm just gonna go ahead and delete that because I don't need that. You can see the preview, so you know. You can create copies of it in a smaller size if you want. Go back into complete it. You have to click edit again. So for the standard luster finish, hardcover, nothing fancy, the book total would be with the blank pages, without the AdoramaPix logo, I'm looking at $69.60. You know, shipping is extra, obviously. Now, the fine folks at AdoramaPix were nice enough to give me a promo code for you guys. From now until April 10th, if you use this promo code at checkout, they'll get you 25% off the hardcover photo book like I'm showing you. It doesn't matter what size. You can do a 6 by 6, you can do an 8 by 8, you can do rectangle, vertical. It has to be a hardcover though, not the leather, and it's good until April 10th. Yes, sir. Well, you could, to type out a table of contents in the program would be kind of daunting, doing it the way that I was showing you in their program. That would be something that I would type it out in Illustrator or in Photoshop itself and then export that as a JPEG or use that as a TIFF and import that finished table of contents that you built in the program of your choice. Yes. Yeah, you would have to physically, yeah, create it in Photoshop, save it as a 12 by 12, 300 DPI JPEG laid out the way you wanted it, and import that as in a photo. There's no automatic page numbering. You would have to physically put it in the corner yourself. They do accept PDFs. You can lay the whole thing out as a PDF and upload it. On the website, they have the directions and templates to download and how to go about doing that. Sorry. Yes. I do. Not through AdoramaPix. That's kind of their niche. Like I said, I've used some of the like Blurb and Shutterfly, and gotten the more magazine, thinner. I'm not a fan of those. I like my pictures being stiff, being nice and, you know, durable. For family stuff, family's going to love anything I give them. But when I hand my clients one of my hardcover books, I mean, they always say, wow. Whether it's because of the photos or just because of the stock and everything about it, just, to me, I'm a huge fan. Yes? No, go ahead. Okay. Yeah. Depends on your PDF settings, but yeah, you should be able to. Mhm. Yeah. Well, and it's a vectored format at that point. It's not. Yes. Well, that's what I was going to show you real quick. They give their prices on everything. So if you're ever curious on what something's going to cost, so like I clicked on the photo books, went down here to their price list, and they'll give me the breakdown on paper finish, the different sizes. You can see that a 6x4, 10 pages is $15.40. That's probably the least expensive option that they offer to get started. Something I tell people to try is maybe order some 4x6 prints for them, just to see how their color correction is going to work on your particular photos. I generally trust the lab's color correction, and that's what I did years ago when I started. I took a bunch of photos, used the print credit I got from somebody, and basically went, I'm going to order 100 4x6s so I could, and said color correct to their specs. So when I got it back, I went, wow, that came out darker than I expected, that came out better than I expected, that came out exactly how I expected, because it's the same color correction they're going to use in the photo books. So later on, when I reproduced that same photo, I kind of knew the result I was going to get. Again, when you do their prices, you can see their pricing right off the get-go. A 4x6 glossy is 24 cents. I should have brought some printed pieces of that. Well, my monitors are color calibrated, so, but I still trust their lab. For most of my stuff was close, but it was a learning curve for me too. There was a couple photos, especially starting off, when I went, oh, I expected it to look one way and I got it back and it was significantly darker, and it was because, well, my monitor was set significantly brighter than I wanted it to be. Yep, they do prints on metal. Yep. Here's your pricing on calendars. Yeah, for your, yeah, just standard RGB, it's fine. Like I said, you can do TIFF files. I wouldn't send them anything CMYK. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes, sir. AdoramaPix is out of New York. Adorama is a competitor of B&H for camera gear and electronics. And then it was a few years ago, I started in 2009 printing with them. I don't think it was that much before then that they started doing the printing themselves. And it's printed right there in the New York, New Jersey area, which is nice because we're close enough that I know when something ships UPS, I normally get it in 2 days. And when you're doing the checkout, they tell you what turnaround, not in there anymore, estimated turnaround time is. They tell you how long it's going to be to process. Like a photo book might take 3 to 5 days to actually produce, and then you've got your shipping option. So a lot of times I can get my books back in between a week and 2 weeks, depending on holiday seasons and things of that nature. They do run Groupons constantly, so that's something if you do, for some reason don't get a chance to use the promo code that I had for today. They do Groupons. They run stuff on their own Facebook, Twitter all the time. I probably shouldn't tell them this because they're going to watch this too, but I don't think I've ever paid full price for anything. I just wait for a sale to come through, and they're pretty good about that. They don't, fault me for anything. I primarily order photo books and metal prints from them. I don't do a lot of 4x6, 8x10s anymore, but their prints on metal are outstanding. They do canvas, acrylic. You can get it mounted, framed. They do photo cards. So pretty much anything that you can get offered by any competitor, they have something similar or the equivalent of. Did everybody write down that promo code that I had? All right. Did everybody write down my referral code so you get the little extra kick? All right. Now let's see. Let's do a quick question and answers. What should I ask? How many pages did I make my photo book? If you all just yell it out, it doesn't help. I need to see hands. All right, let's start over. Let's see. True or false, when I put a QR code on my book, I can have it linked to my business card. Just the website, all right. Give me your email address when I'm done. I'm going to get you a $10 coupon for AdoramaPix. All right, next one. Let's see. What's a good question? You haven't been here. You have no idea what we did. Let's see.
Order different top sizes.
Yes. Okay. Just making sure. You're in the group. You can't get the coupon. True or false? Can I edit my book after I've ordered it? I don't see hands. Ma'am in the blonde. All right. Give me your email too. I'll get you a $10. And let's see. Last one. This one's got to be a good one. How long does the photo book stay on the AdoramaPix website after you've completed the order? 3 months is how long the photos stay up, unless you tell them to otherwise. The photo books stay up forever after you've placed the order until you delete them. Give me your email. I've got a $20 coupon for you. All right.
So, everybody learned something from Mark today?
Yeah.
You want to thank him?